Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 1,208 days since our last episode of TheoryCraft. In the days since, we've had balance patches, meta shifts, map pool changes, and mechanical discoveries. We've had top players dethroned, and rising talents find success in ways not previously thought possible. In the past, I thought of TheoryCraft as a way to learn and communicate high-level concepts in Warcraft III, not from my own play, but through the best players in the world. What I would attempt to do to the best of my ability was translate the thoughts and actions of the world's best players into something intangible to something more tactile, repeatable, and helpful. In that journey, I never claimed to give the whole picture, but hope people will grasp merely any, however small, useful takeaway to benefit your understanding of Warcraft III. Today's episode is about Paladin Rifles, specifically defeating Paladin Rifles with Undead and Orc. In the recent months, and especially recent weeks, I've seen an increase of complaints and declarations of imbalance with regards to the strategy. What I have not seen, however, especially when it comes to top-level Orc players, is an increase in innovation. For the Undeads, Happy has proven himself yet again to not just be the micro-robot people sometimes accuse him of being, but the best tactical Undead of all time as well as the most mechanically gifted. The fault not lies with Happy, but with the inability of other Undead players to learn from his genius. Instead, Undead players merely brush it off as too difficult or just micro, forehead, instead of seeing what they can learn and improving their own play from his. Orc players seem to have the inverse problem. People outside the world's elite are more willing to innovate, but the top Orc players seem to be complacently sticking to what has failed time and time again. What is the definition of insanity, I ask? Paladin Rifle was played by non-pro players for many, many years, but every professional human brushed it off as a bad strategy or not viable at the top level, just to be proven incorrect after hundreds and hundreds of lost tournaments due to not utilizing every tool at their disposal. The pro Orc scene is now doing that with regards to the counters to this very strategy. The irony. I come to you today not to say that we have solved Paladin Rifle. I believe that in 1 year we will not see it as a completely solved strategy, but merely an option for human players on certain maps in certain situations that if played well can work. In a very similar way, Farseer Headhunters has not played every single game versus Undead today, but is still a very viable option that if played well, can win games on certain maps. That this would not be imbalanced, but a healthy variety of strategies that neither grant free wins nor free losses. I claim to not have all the answers, but instead hope to use today's episode to help push you out the door and for you to find the path on your own. There's currently not a wealth of resources on counters due to the issues I've already outlined, but we will work with what we have and try to paint as full of a picture as we can with what is available to us. Welcome to TheoryCraft episode 38. Let's talk about Paladin Rifle. What are the strengths of Paladin Rifle? I've broken it down into 4 different things. There are probably many more, and there are also weaknesses. Every strategy has strengths and weaknesses. The first that I will outline is as followed. It is probably the strongest strategy in regards to strength over time. Now, what does strength over time mean? Well, it pushes very early, and it's very, very potent as a push. Something to reference might be the Undead Tier 3 timing with Frenzy Ghouls, with Tri-Hero, with Orb, with Destroyers. Now, this is a very, very strong push. If you're out of position for 1 second, you get punished and you get killed. If you're not at your base, you lose every burrow, you lose every peasant, you lose all your Moonwells, you just lose the game. It's very, very strong, but it hits at about 9 to 10 minutes. It hits much later. Now, you might be talking about early pushes, Farseer, Firelord, Straight Tech, and Orkmere. This hits at about 4 minutes. You have 2 heroes in your base, you have grunts, you have towers. It hits very, very early, but it's not the strongest of pushes. Now, Paladin Rifle is the balance of both of these things, right? It hits very early, 7 minutes to 8 minutes, and it's super, super strong. It's not as explosive as the Undead Tier 3 timing push, but it's still very, very strong. The strongest of these 2 delicate balances. In the game, there is no strategy that is stronger in regards to strength over time. There is none. That is the main strength of Paladin Rifles. Number 2, which is why we're seeing it so much, is number 2. Because it's relatively simple to understand in micro, which is why we're seeing so many people pick it up and so many people play it recently, because it's pretty simple. You, at its core, it's 2 heroes and 1 unit. with a build order you learn, but then you only build one unit from there. I'm well aware that it's more complicated than that. But at the first basic entry level is very, very simple. But it's not just simple. It also maintains a very high potential for micro expression. What I mean by that is, yes, you can just micro, very basically, you can Holy Light Riflemen when they get low. You can, siphon mana away every once in a while, but you can also do these crazy things which allow the best players in the world, like Starbuck, like Fortitude, to express their level of micro to its highest potential, because Blood Mage is a very, very micro-intensive hero. Range units can always be microed better. So yes, at the entry level, many players can pick up what you need to do. You need to build Riflemen, you need to Holy Light the low Riflemen, but then as the skill level increases, the potential for Pally Rifle also increases as well. It's not a basic strategy. There's many, many layers to it. Number 3, which is very important at the low level, number 3. This is not so important at the medium or high level at all, but I'll point it out because it is important. It's shown to be cheese and rush proof. What I mean by that is players have tried, Lynn, for instance, has tried 2 Barracks Headhunters versus it, which is a cheese. That is an all-in. That is mass Headhunters trying to kill your opponent, and it didn't work. It lost. Sometimes it won, to be fair. Sometimes it won, but most of the time it lost. People I'm sure have tried Crypt Lord, 2 Crypt Ghoul all-ins and stuff like that, but none of these things have clearly worked because none of these things are meta. If there was a cheese that just killed this strategy outright, people wouldn't be playing this strategy because it would die to that cheese every time and people would stop playing it. So it's, been proven by fire, I guess you could say, to be cheese and rush proof. To a certain extent. I'm sure there's still some weird fast tech Wind Rider things that people are pulling off, but, if played properly, Pally Rifle should be resistant to these things. Is a strength maybe not so important at Starbucks level, but important at the lower level. Just like it being simple to understand in micro is important at the lower level. And number 4, which is an important point, number 4, it scales very well into the late game, which is sometimes underutilized. Here's a tip to you, Pally Rifle players. You're not utilizing tier 3 enough. You're not utilizing a 3rd hero enough. You're not utilizing staff enough. Griffins, knights, inner fire, casters. Many, many players are stubbornly just playing Paladin, Blood Mage, Rifleman, which is great if you're a beginner, but anywhere past the beginner stage, you need to utilize the other tools that Human has available, which allows Pally Rifle to scale into the late game. Pally Rifle is not an all-in 7-minute timing strategy. It maybe used to be, but now it is not any longer. So it scales very well into the late game. It's a super viable option. As viable as Archmage or Mountain King first into the late game, I would argue. Which is very, very important because it makes it not just a rush strategy. It's not just some all-in and then the game went past the 8-minute mark, I guess I'll leave. It's not that. It scales very, very well. Now, we're talking about Orc and Undead today playing against Pally Rifles. We're not going to talk about Elf playing versus Pally Rifles. Maybe another day if it becomes a problem, but it's currently not a problem for Night Elf from what I've seen. Neither is it a problem for Human Mir. Obviously, Defend Footmen are a thing. So we're going to be talking about Orc and Undead playing versus Pally Rifle today. How do these strengths play into the 2 different races we'll be talking about playing against these strengths? Well, the first one is about defending a timing, right? Because the initial problem of Pally Rifles is not point number 4, right? It's not point number 4, it's point number 1. We don't need to worry about this until we worry about this. It's very, very important. We need to not die here so that we can then figure out how to deal with here. Make sense? So the first issue for both these races is how do you defend this extremely strong timing at between 7 and 8 minutes? Sometimes it varies depending on the player. It changes all the time. Maybe people want to set themselves up more for the push, but between 7 and 8 minutes, how do we deal with that? Well, we'll talk about it more, obviously. We're going to go into replays and go into detail, but Undead struggles to deal with this timing much more than Orc, I would say. Why does Undead struggle more to deal with this timing? There's a few reasons, I guess, and I'll just throw some out. I'm not 100% sure, but it is true that Undead struggles more to defend this. Holy Light can work aggressively on Undead units. Just throw that out there. Undead is maybe more mana reliant than Orc, you could argue. So Siphon Mana is better aggressively against Undead. And also Undead struggles to pressure a human in general early on. Like, Orc can just walk across the map with a level 1 Farseer and Headhunters and contain the human in their base. Undead does not have that luxury, so they're unable to slow down Pally Rifle initially as easily as Orc is, so they cannot delay the push right away. So those are 3 reasons why Undead struggles more than Orc to hold, inverted camera, to hold this push. Orc, on the other hand, can pressure early on. They don't take damage from aggressive Holy Lights, and they're maybe, you could argue, less susceptible to Siphon Mana. They maybe can deal with that a little bit better. They can function a little bit better because they maybe use their mana in a more bursty way, if I had to come up with a reason. So Undead struggles more, but Undead has ways to get around that. Orc can find ways to hold this timing, which we're going to talk about, how to hold this timing. The first problem of Pally Rifles, let's call it the hard problem of Pally Rifles. Orc does not struggle so much with that. They can actually form an army that can hold this timing, and I'm going to show you what you have to do that. You literally can hold it. You no longer need to die at 7 minutes every game to Pally Rifles. I'm talking to you, Lynn. Undead, though, needs a little bit more of a convoluted way, because if they just allow the human to macro up and push their base, Undead struggles more to hold, and they probably will die, as we saw with Happy versus Starbuck when Happy played Death Knight and got completely destroyed every game. Right? We saw that. We saw examples of that. We saw 120 playing Reverse Race versus Happy. Well, Happy was playing Human, and 120 was playing Undead. We saw 120 get completely destroyed. But what tool does Undead have that Orc doesn't? Well, Undead actually has a better laming ability. What do I mean by laming? People sometimes get cheese and lame confused. What cheese is a strategy that if you figure out how to defeat it, it's easily counterable, but until you have that information, you're unable to defeat it. So it's a strategy that relies on the lack of understanding from your opponent. That's what cheese is. What laming is avoiding fights through base trading, through killing workers, through killing buildings, through burning teepees, through playing an extra base with lots of towers. That's what laming is. Now, Undead is better at laming than Orc. Why is that? In this specific situation, not in general. Obviously, Raiders, Bat Riders, Shockwave, Chain Lightning, Wolves are all great tools to lame. Orc is the lame race. But against humans specifically, the reason why Undead struggles less to lame than Orc, because simply ghouls, beetles, skeletons can get through a wall. And Orc units just have to sit outside like, it's snowy on Christmas and look through the window as 2 level 1 wolves try to harass a human player in a blocked base. Whereas Undead just doesn't struggle that much at laming like this. They can actually get through the wall and attack. Whereas if there's a wall off base with 4 towers, Orc just has to sit there attacking an altar. That's not to say that Orc is bad at laming. Again, Orc is the lame race, but in this context, Undead is better at it. So Orc can design an army that can actually hold this timing and defeat the hard problem, and Undead can not delay this timing right away, but they can lame their way out of the timing to solve the hard problem of Pally Rifles. Now, we've already said that there's not going to be any cheeses we're going to do. We're not going to be talking about cheeses, because cheeses, by definition, are not a way to figure out how to defeat a strategy. They're a way to get an easy win. If we're playing a tournament and we have 1 day to prepare, maybe we prepare a cheese because we think our opponents will lack the understanding. But if we're trying to figure out how to deal with the strategy we're struggling against, we're not talking about cheeses. So point number 3 doesn't matter. Point number 2 doesn't matter. Point number 4 scales well into the late game. Now, we need to think about what sort of armies we want to build to scale well into the late game. For Undead, it's a lot simpler than it seems, and we're going to talk about that. It's quite a lot simpler than it seems. So the first problem, the hard problem, is dealing with this timing, and then the soft problem of Pally Rifles, which is a little less explored, I will admit, today I'm not claiming to have everything figured out for you guys. First, we need to get through this point. Stop losing here. That's mainly what today's going to be focused on. Stop dying in 7 minutes every game to Pally Rifles and then complaining. So we're going to solve this problem for you guys today, and then we're going to discuss this problem. But we're not going to claim to have all the answers about this problem. But for Undead, it's quite simple. Frenzy Ghouls are pretty good. And for Orc, it's quite simple. Berserkers are pretty good, because you have to think about what units... Let's talk about Orc for a second. What units are available to Orc? Well, let's say the human goes late game and they have Riflemen, and then they get Inner Fire from a Sanctum, and then they get some Griffins. Well, you'd think you want to go Bat Riders for the Griffins, but they have Inner Fire. You think you'd want to go Torns for the Riflemen, but they have Griffins. You think you want to go maybe Walkers for the Taurens, but they have Griffins. You maybe want to go Casters, but any sort of Caster is a Mana Battery for the Blood Mage. So really you're kind of left with what? Demolishers, Grunts, both heavy armor, countered by the Griffins. You're kind of left... Wind Riders, countered by the Riflemen. You're left with 2 units. You're left with mostly Berserkers and some Taurens, but not too many because they have Griffins. Starov, thank you for the 5 gift subs. I appreciate it. I will not be interacting too much with you guys today, but I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys chatting and the subs. So you're left with a very simple army to scale into the late game. Mostly Undead players are playing Ghouls, and mostly Orc players are playing Berserkers. And that's sort of, if you could have 100 supply of those units, you will probably go for 100 supply of those units, not necessarily with Ghouls, but with Berserkers. They end up being your standard army. So yeah, that's a question we need to ask ourselves. That's something we need to continuously think about and update. Maybe Witch Doctors are good against Pally Rifles late game. Who knows? We need to experiment and try things out, because really at the moment we're all experimenting. We've figured this out. We've gotten that far. Now I need everyone's help. Lynn, I'm talking to you to figure this part out. Because we generally know what we can and can't build, but still, what's the perfect 80 supply army for both players in both matchups in this situation? That's the second problem that maybe we're struggling a little bit more to solve these days. So that's the strengths of Pally Rifles. That's the strengths of Pally Rifles. Now, I'd like to point out a couple things. There was a tournament that's happened over the last 2 days where Happy played again against Pally Rifles, and he completely destroyed it. The replays we're going to watch are not from that tournament, but I just want to point out that I have seen those games, and I have been watching Happy's streams as well when he plays against Pally Rifles. I've seen all these things. I've seen all these games. So you might be saying, oh, there's some things, and I saw he went DK Lichtler. I've seen these games. I've seen these games. I'm well aware. The replays we'll be watching are not the most recent replays. Again, we're going to be watching Happy vs. Starbuck when it comes to Undead vs. Pally Rifles. But I've seen the new games. I've seen the most recent ones. And also what I'll say is I'll shout out the Pally Rifle University. There is a group of Pally Rifle players called the Pally Rifle University. Most of them Polish players. We have Lemus. We have Toxy, who's not Polish. And we have Saul Aitman. We've got a lot of people. And within this group of players, they're constantly spitballing and coming up with new ideas and adapting to things. So I'm going to say, here's some counters to Pally Rifles. And you know in 1-2 days they're going to have brainstormed ideas to counter those. And then it's going to keep scaling up and up and up and up and up. So I'm going to give you guys some ideas today. And no doubt in my mind are these things going to be solved or countered or dealt with in some elegant way within the week. The next time we see Starbuck versus Happy, we're going to see a completely different game from how Starbuck played with Pally Rifle, I'm sure, against Happy, than the replays we watched today. Right? And I think it'll involve cannon towers. But we don't have those games. Those games have not happened yet. So we're going to work with what we have. But just know, I'm going to hedge my bet a little bit. Just know these things are going to change. But obviously, we don't want to just have to wait for the next thing. We want to learn what's already happened, and then we can do smaller updates and smaller updates and smaller updates while we both increase our precision of the build orders. Right? So we get up to date to this point. Pally Rifle updates some stuff, we update some stuff, and so on and so on and so on and so on. It's going to be a continuous tug of war. And that's just how it works with strategies. So maybe I do this stream. In 5 hours, there's a happy Starbuck show match. Completely different thing. Well, that happens. That's how the meta changes. But at least we know how we got here from today, right? At least we know how we got here. And I think that's all I have to say for the intro. Also would like to say a big shout out to Tsog, who helped me a lot, not with the undead side of things, but with the orc side of things. He gave me like 2,000 words and notes. He helped me a ton. I talked to him all day yesterday. I went through his replays. He really, really was a lot of help. Tsog is one of the best European orc players currently. I think he's ranked number 3 on War 3 Champions ladder. With like a 90% win rate. He's an insanely good player, and he's very, very good against Pally Rifles. Probably one of the better players against Pally Rifles, in my opinion, in the world. So big shout out to him. He helped me a lot. He does coaching. I think it's TSCDog826 on Discord. If you need coaching, if you're an orc player, highly recommend. Highly recommend, okay? Just letting you, big shout out there. He helped me a ton. That's other people and not me. None of the Pally Rifle people wanted to give me answers. I messaged a couple people. They said no. I was like, okay, I'm not even going to bother messaging Lemus. He won't want to answer either. He won't want to answer either. You guys can keep your secrets. Yeah, help for the opening speech. No, this he gave me some notes on orc. Pretty much what I asked TSYog is I was like, can you go through the matchup as though I have zero idea how to play the game? Like I'm an alien that's come down from Mars, and you need to explain how orc defeats Pally Rifle. And then he gave me a really intricate write-up, which was great, very helpful. And then I used that against what I already knew, and we, helped me understand things, which was fantastic. Okay. We're now going to start with Undead. We're going to move into Orc. If you guys are Orc players and you only care about Orc, come back in 2 replays. We're going to do 2 replays of Undead, and then we're going to do 2 replays of Orc. Okay? So we're going to start with Happy versus Starbuck. On Turtle Rock from their most recent series, both players are going to make some mistakes. Both players are going to make some good plays. These are the best replays we have available to us currently. These are the best ones. And I will say, there's going to be a lot more on the Orc side of things, too. A lot more specifics. If you're an Orc player, you're getting the straight juice today. I'm ready to roast what you're going to say. I had no doubts that's going to happen, Lemus. Here we go. First replay. So, here's Happy. He's playing versus Starbuck. Starbuck is the best Pally Rifle player of all time. There is nobody better. Lemus will say the same, being the popularizer of Pally Rifles. There is nobody playing Pally Rifles to a higher level than the person that Happy is versing right now. Starbuck is the best. Starbuck is the best. He's way better than Fortitude at Pally Rifles. He's way better than Sock. He's way better than Infi. If you watch Fortitude compared to Starbuck play Pally Rifles, it looks like Fortitude has no idea what he's doing. So these games are going to be very close and not easy at all, but know that Happy is playing versus the best of the best with all the information of the Pally Rifle universe he has disposal. And then there's Happy, who's really good. Orc, I'm confused. We're doing both Orc and Undead today, Armin. Undead first, and then Orc. Opener for Happy is going to be standard ghouls with a Crypt Lord. We go Altar, we go Crypt. We build our Ziggurat before our 5th Acolyte. Our 5th Acolyte comes after the Ziggurat. This Acolyte's going to build the shop. And worth noting, of course, Happy does not know what strategy Starbuck's playing. He could be playing Archmage. Archmage is very, very strong versus Undead, too. We cannot do a strategy that just blind counters Pally Rifle at this level. We can't. I know a lot of Orc players are saying, why not go Blade Master? Well, that might be good against Pally Rifle, but is it good against every strategy all at once? No. No, it is not. So we need to find an answer that works against both Pally Rifles and Archmage and Mountain King, one base, expansion, all the things. And Happy has chosen that strategy to be Cryptlord Ghouls with a fast expansion. And it's the same thing for Orc. What is a strategy that's going to work against not just Pally Rifles? We don't want a blind counter. Works against every strategy. So, Cryptlord. The idea with a Crypt Lord is Happy's going to creep his expansion as early as possible. If he could creep it as his first camp, he would. But on Turtle Rock, the expansions are very difficult to creep. So Happy's not going to creep it right away, but he's going to creep it as early as he can. Ziggurat, more ghouls. He's going to build the Acolyte for the expansion when necessary. You would build it probably around this time if you're going to creep the expansion right away, but Happy is not going to creep his Expo as his very first camp. He's going to creep this green first and then go to this Expo, so this Acolyte could be a little bit delayed, which allows him to get a 5th ghoul. He's going to sell the TP and buy the 3 items necessary for expanding: Rod, Ritual Dagger, Sacrificial Skull. He's going to pull 2 ghouls, and he's going to creep this camp. If we creep a bigger camp, say our expansion first, we're going to pull 3 ghouls, and Happy's going to rally that instead of pulling 3 ghouls initially. Now, the most difficult thing for a lot of Undead players when it comes to playing these sort of openers is knowing exactly what to do with your ghouls. How many ghouls do I pull? When do I send them to lumber? When do I send them home? Happy simply pulled 2 ghouls initially, left 2 back here. If he was creeping a bigger camp, he would have pulled 3 ghouls initially, left 1, and then this ghoul that just rallied in would have rallied to lumber. Every other ghoul, Happy is going to rally to his Crypt Lord for quite a while. No, just note, every ghoul that comes out of this crypt is rallied to the Crypt Lord. He has 2 on lumber, and he's keeping it that way. Second important point, he has just summoned his first set of beetles. He still doesn't know what strategy he's up against. He needs to scout. So what is Happy going to do? He's not going to send a skeleton. They expire. He needs to send a beetle to scout. It could be Archmage 1 base. It's probably Pally Rifle because it's Turtle Rock, but Happy is not going to... He's not going to guess. So he's sending the beetle pretty much immediately. And this beetle's going to try to find his opponent. There's 2 spawns on Turtle Rock, here or here. So Happy's going to scout this green camp, and then this green camp, and then he's going to find the Paladin eventually. Worth noting, when it comes to scouting, you guys, when you're facing players that are not Starbuck, might need to scout more, because, like, let's say, for instance, like, Happy's going to scout this and be like, okay, he's not spawned here, because this green camp isn't going to be crept. But we might be playing a player that's going Archmage, buying a mechanical critter, and blizzard creeping this. So you're going to have to scout a little bit more precisely than Happy is, which is just an unfortunate thing of not being a top pro player. That's just an unfortunate thing about it. So Happy's going to scout maybe a little bit more relaxed than I would recommend you scout, because there's so many more strategies you could be up against as a player that's not playing against Starbuck or Fortitude or Sock almost exclusively. So, every single ghoul has been rallied to the Crypt Lord. He built his Acolyte, not immediately, but on time to meet up with the Crypt Lord when he moves over to the expansion. He's tanked everything on the Crypt Lord so far. Note, continuing to rally. He's going to stop ghoul production at 25 supply. He's going to build a Ziggurat, and he's going to build his gold mine. If he is not at 25 supply yet, when he creeps his expansion, he will still build the Ziggurat, and then he'll build the gold mine at 25 supply. That just is generally when the lumber works out properly. Notice, Beetle has scouted this green camp, saw no hero, nothing there, goes over to this green camp, continuing to scout until he finds out what is the strategy. He doesn't know what the strategy is, and he's still expanding. That's because Happy decided that ghouls, Crypt Lord, and a fast expansion is good against every strategy human can do, including Pally Rifles. So it's 25 supplies, so we want to get that Ziggurat and the gold mine as soon as we can. The Ziggurat will turn into a Nerubian as soon as it is done. And there's a slight inaccuracy from Happy here. Slightly. He's going to build an Acolyte instead of a ghoul. This is a mistake from Happy. It's not a big mistake, but it is a mistake. This gold mine takes 110 seconds to build. Acolytes take 15 seconds to construct. He needs to build 4 Acolytes. That takes 60 seconds. The walk time from this base to this gold mine is 25 seconds. That means 85 seconds is how long it's going to take for 4 Acolytes to reach this gold mine. The 5th is already here and start mining. So in reality, Happy could wait 25 seconds before building this first Acolyte and then build 3 more behind it. So he could have, instead of investing this gold into this Acolyte, he could instead build a ghoul and then probably build another ghoul and then start Acolytes. because he's not going to be, or maybe he'd be supply blocked, but actually this Ziggurat would finish on time, so it's a slight inaccuracy. Not a big deal, worth noting for your own games. You should wait 25 seconds if you want to be optimal, which is around here, before you start building Acolytes. Not a big deal, though. Not a big deal. Beetle finds the army, and he's going to track the army. Now, you might be thinking, oh, shouldn't Starbuck go over and cancel this gold mine? He's really strong right now. We're going to cover all that. Don't worry. It's not going to happen this game, but we're going to cover that. Happy finishes expansion. His next goal, Happy, is two things. To creep level 3 and to keep his expansion safe. So he's creeping level 3, and this would be the same on every map. He's creeping in such a way that if Starbuck comes to cancel the gold mine, he'll be right in line of it, which isn't going to entirely stop Starbuck from being able to cancel it, but at least he'll be able to punish Starbuck for running across the map like that. So he sees Starbuck's creeping over here. He crept here safely until he had that information. Now Happy's going to prioritize a Staff of Teleportation. Happy will always buy a Staff of Teleportation immediately. Immediately. And now he's going to walk across the map. This is always what Happy does every single time. Every single time. Level 3 keeps the gold mine safe temporarily, tracks where the Paladin is, Staff of Teleportation, goes across the map. What is Happy going to do now? What is Happy going to do now? He's just buying time. He's just buying time for the gold mine. He's keeping Starbuck busy. He's going to use Impale and attempt to surround Riflemen, trade, delay the Paladin. All he's doing is running around and buying time so that his expansion is not safe. Because right now, this is very exposed. Happy has no towers here. His army maybe could win a fight, but he's not the strongest he's going to be. He's simply trying to buy time and space and keep Starbuck contained, which is going to be the story of this game. We're not going to worry about too much until this gold mine gets up. Notice he's just continuing to build ghouls. He pulled all of his ghouls off lumber when he was at 100 lumber, or a little bit over. The 20 lumber got invested into this, but he had 100 lumber from the 2 ghouls back home after he constructed his gold mine, 114 or something, 116, and then he pulled all the ghouls. But he has enough lumber, importantly, to upgrade the Nerubian and to build another Ziggurat at the expansion. And then he pulls all of his ghouls to meet up for this excursion that's going to delay Starbuck, to make space for his expansion. So that's all we're doing until our gold mine gets up, and then we'll talk about what Happy does next. Notice, still scouting. The scouting for Happy is beautiful this whole time. It's not an easy thing to do. Forehead just scout like Happy, but worth pointing out, the most impressive thing from this early game is Happy's scouting. What else could be impressive? His creeping? No, it's his scouting. All Happy has done very well so far in this game is scout. And he will continue to do so in this entire game. Running around, buying time, buying space. Not directly engaging, just making space for this. Okay, gold mine gets up. What does Happy build? Graveyard. Necropolis. 2 Ziggurats. Second Crypt. And in some cases, even another Ziggurat. These things are all happening before Happy techs. Before Happy techs. I've seen a lot of Undead players do the classic expansion thing of 1 Nerubian, and then they're like, oh, I got enough lumber to tech, go to tier 2, and then build everything afterwards. This is how you die to Pally Rifles. Happy is wasting every resource on tier 1. He's wasting every single resource on tier 1. He's not worried about it at all. He is making sure he's 100% safe before teching. This is what's separating Happy from all the undeads that are getting owned on ladder over and over again. And they're like, I'm playing Cryptlord Ghouls Expo. Why am I dying? Happy's playing super duper safe. And I watched Happy's games last night. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Graveyard for Spirit Towers. Necropolis, and Happy, as resources allow, is going to build 2 more Ziggurats here. There's 1. He's going to build another one. He'll even go up to 4 towers eventually. And he'll go up to 4 towers in his main base eventually as well. That's his goal. And he's also going to be building a second crypt. And then once he has all these things, once he's upgraded towers in both bases, then he's going to tech to tier 2. It's going to take him a long time to get there. But this is how you do not die. Note, we talked about 7 to 8 minute timing. If we teched right now and then built all this stuff, it would be too late. We would be dead. So buying time, buying space, so that he can protect his bases. Just running around the map until then. If we find the Crypt Lord out of position, we're going to engage. We're going to use Impale. We're going to try to get surrounds. The strength of ghouls is they can actually run in here and threaten. Note, Starbuck's base is open. You might ask the question, well, what would happen if his base was closed? We're going to talk all about that in the second replay. You might say this is a mistake from Starbuck. As I mentioned at the start of the replay, both players are going to make mistakes in these games. We don't have a perfect game where both players play 100% perfectly. We just don't have those replays available to us at this level of play. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry. It's the world we live in. But, you know, you could say, oh, his base should be closed right now. Maybe it should be. It is closed in the next replay. This isn't designed to kill him or to do tremendous damage. It's simply built to make space for the expansion. Happy's got a Staff of Teleportation, so this is safe. He realizes he can't do much damage, runs the ghouls out, staff's back. Space has been created. Notice these Ziggurats are going to be finishing. 2 Ziggurats and another Necropolis, which isn't a always thing from Happy, but in this case it ends up being quite useful. It gives you 10 supply. You can rebuild Acolytes quickly. There's no huge downside to it. It costs a little bit more gold than a Ziggurat and no lumber, right? It's fine. It's fine. It just further solidifies his expansion. Notice the scouting from Happy. He backs away, but he's going to continue scouting with this ghoul. He's healing up a little bit, so he creeps. He's getting some more mana, but this ghoul continues to track. Back at home, second crypt. And the second Happy feels threatened at all, the second Starbuck moves from here to out onto the map, Happy starts upgrading towers. And if Starbuck starts moving further, Happy is going to again upgrade towers. He doesn't upgrade them right away, but it's important to have the Ziggurats built, because obviously if you're building them while they push you and they cancel them, you just lose the game. But, you know, upgrading the towers doesn't really take that long. By the time they move across the map from here to here, which we've scouted with our ghoul, we would have this expansion reinforced. Now, these towers aren't going to defend his army entirely, but they're going to make it more difficult for Starbuck to just break this while we counterattack into the main with ghouls. Same thing with our main base. If we feel threatened towards our main, these are both going to be upgraded into towers. And Happy's going to eventually even build a Ziggurat here and a Ziggurat here to build more towers. Hasn't teched yet. Also want to point out, Happy gets literally perfect items this game. It's great. It's great. Infi DLC. You love it. Love to see it. He's going to get a nice little surround here. He uses an Impale, which he probably didn't need, but he forces Banish, so the Blood Mage doesn't die. But more importantly than forcing Banish, he forces the Paladin back home. Now there is no Siphon. Runs away again. We've succeeded with what we wanted to do. The Paladin is not attacking our expansion. This is what laming is. It's not fighting, towering up, attacking the economy, and just making space, but never directly engaging. Happy only engages when he absolutely needs to, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Notice what happens when he does engage. He gets absolutely destroyed. Those 4 ghouls dead in seconds. Feels a threat, towers going up. Feels a threat, towers in the main base. Pulls all the ghouls and techs. Why does he pull all the ghouls? Because he's feeling threatened. These ghouls are no use to him at home to defend. He needs the ghouls to counterattack and to pressure Starbuck back home. So he's upgrading towers. He just started his tech because he has all the necessary things. Graveyard, 2 crypts, Necropolis, 3 Ziggurats here, 2 towers here. Once you have all the necessary means to have a sturdy 2-base economy, then you can tech at 8 minutes. 8 minutes he's teching. If it was any earlier, he would die. Pulls all the ghouls. Realizes Starbuck might commit, so Happy's going to get a town portal so that he too can commit. And Starbuck's here. Sees 3 towers and a 4th going up. He says, okay, I'm going to try the main base, which ends up being a nice play from Starbuck because the main base is less secured. Happy realizes he's going to build more towers. Does Happy need a ziggurat to go from 80 to 90 supply? No, this is literally to have more towers. Same with this. He doesn't need 100 supply capacity. He doesn't even need 60 supply capacity. But he's building these for towers. Okay, maybe he needed 60. Goes up to 51. Beetles are too big to get in, but the ghouls can. And how does the Crypt Lord get in? Well, we'll see in a second, won't we? Starbuck counterattacking, and yes, this is scary. If we tried to fight this, we probably lose the game. There's a greater mana, there's a heal scroll, there's +1 attack for the rifleman. If we TP in and try to fight this, maybe with mana pots, if we were tier 2, we could hold, but chances are we kind of get owned. But the question now becomes, is Starbuck dealing more damage than we are? Even if the answer is yes, we're on 2 bases and he's on 1. Is he dealing twice as much damage as we are? Probably not. Which the math doesn't exactly check out there, but that is, you know, we're on 2 bases. We're both hitting each other bases. We're both kind of getting owned. But eventually Starbuck's going to have to go back home. Happy staffs in. And yes, we're taking damage. We're losing stuff. It's scary. But eventually Starbuck's going to have to go back home. Losing ghouls. This is coming up. We can get another tower now. Notice, 2 Necropolis, producing Acolytes. He's sending 2 Acolytes here just to repair. That's the advantage of having those extra Necropolis. The Crypt Lord literally dies because Happy knew if he town portaled, he had no way of healing and would have died. His Crypt Lord literally dies in this exchange. Now, there's a world in which he could have sent the ghouls onto the trees, TP'd the Crypt Lord, and then maybe tried to find a way to heal up. But Happy said it's better just to lose the Crypt Lord and Tavern Revive it than TPing into this or TPing into no shop, nothing to heal up over here. So Happy literally just loses his Crypt Lord to towers just because he knows I just need to force him back. Which he will be able to do. Look, every peasant is dead. Have we taken damage as the undead player? We've taken lots of damage as the undead player. But eventually Starbuck has to go back home, and then we're still on 2 bases. There's the TP. Was that exchange good for us? Maybe not. But we're alive, and we have 2 bases running. And now you might ask, Carson, this doesn't seem sustainable. What's the win condition? Well, let me tell you. The win condition is very simply, you have to survive all this chaos. You have to survive all this chaos, and you need 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. You're in the trenches. You have a picture in your wallet that you pull out with shaky hands, dirtied by the mud of combat. And what is on that picture? What is on that photograph as you look at it? It's 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. You need to get home to 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. That is it. That is how you need to survive all the chaos. You need to lose your Crypt Lord 6 times, build 8 towers, lose 100 ghouls, but if you survive with 2 running bases, 3 Crypts, and Frenzy Ghoul upgrade, you have succeeded in your win condition. No ghouls, no units other than ghouls. If you watch the most recent games of Happy, he actually started adding a Slaughterhouse and getting statues and adding a DK and a Lich with Orb. He won't be in these games, but Happy, as mentioned, is starting to change some things up, as will the Pally Rifle players. There's going to be back and forth. It's mostly just ghouls with Frenzy, but Happy's adding some extra things in. But what you're trying to survive to, you have 2 running bases, they have 1, you have 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. That's what you're trying to survive. That's what you're going home to. At the end of the war, that's what you're looking forward to seeing. Back to the game. Everything else we do is to get us there. Yeah, Happy's also gotten some upgrades. Upgrades are very efficient. We have the economy to do so. We don't need to struggle with lumber, so we're going to squeeze out upgrades. Eventually in this game, Happy's going to end up at 2-2 upgrades. It's better to have attack upgrades because we're doing more aggressive moves. We're not really fighting an army. We're fighting buildings for the most part. And militia, better to have attack upgrades. Upgrades are very efficient for ghouls because they're 2 supply. But okay, now Happy is in a little bit of a tricky position, but Starbuck, if we just look, he's mining with 5. He's got no gold. He's got 1 on lumber. It's a complete disaster over here. So yes, we've taken some damage, but as has Starbuck. Happy's going to tavern back the Crypt Lord. And what is he going to do? He's going to go back to making space. This whole time he's been building ghouls. He's got ghouls over here. That's why we have 2 crypts. Eventually we're going to want a 3rd. But Happy's just back to making space. He managed to make it to tier 2. We're 1 step closer to seeing our family of 3 Crypt Frenzy ghouls. 1 step. We just need to make it to tier 3 and get that upgrade. We just need to make it there. And we need to build 1 more crypt. What's Happy doing? He's building ziggurats past 100 supply capacity. Why? Towers so that he can make it to that point of the game so he doesn't die. Full lame mode. And we go into the base again. What we're going to see right here is the most difficult point in the game for Happy. This is the most difficult point in the game for Happy, is right here. We don't have any units aggressively. We just have beetles. We've lost many ghouls. We just had to invest a ton of resources into reviving our Crypt Lord, which died to towers. And Starbuck has managed to make it to our base with a safe home for the most part against these beetles. And we have to make a decision. Do we send these ghouls all the way across the map and try to counterattack again into these 2 towers? Or do we try to somehow make a stand? This is a very difficult point for Happy. A point in the game in which many players might lose. But I offer you not free wins with this strategy. I offer you just a winnable situation. You still need to play well, as does the Paladin Rifle player, and Starbuck has played well enough to find himself a position where Happy could make a big enough mistake, and Starbuck could win here. But I do not offer you free wins. I never have offered you free wins. You have to work for it, and Happy's going to work for it from this point on. Counterattacking. And he actually manages to force the Paladin to staff back. What does that mean? It means he can actually make a stand. So Happy's going to make a judgment call. Do I pull the ghouls and counterattack into this Paladin? Or do I try to delay and buy some time? And Happy's going to make a very nice play here that many of us may fail to make. It's a judgment call, and it's slightly a micro thing. Many of us might crumble here. But remember, the way that Happy got here is he just lost 15 ghouls and his Crypt Lord into the main base. Okay. We staff back. We buy a mana pot. Ghouls come in from the back. Very nice impale. And he's going to manage to fight back Starbuck. Impale kills another rifleman, gets 3 rifleman kills. And we're good. We've stabilized. It was close. It was a scary situation, but we have now killed some riflemen. We have lowered the threat level to our buildings, and now we can go back to laming. It was getting to the point where Starbuck was going to be able to push into our towers and start killing us, and we didn't have enough of a counterattack threat to deal damage. But Happy made a very nice play. He made a very nice judgment call. He got the 3 riflemen, and now he's back to counterattacking. That moment right there was, again, where many of us could have lost this game, and Happy could have as well. That was the most important part of this entire game, of this 13-minute game so far. But now Happy's back to laming. Notice he's never engaging with his ghouls. He's always just hiding his ghouls in the back. He does not want to lose the ghouls. He hides them behind towers. Starbuck is left with attacking only crypts, which can be rebuilt over here if need be. And here we go again. We've been here before, haven't we? Why are we doing this? When can we fight? Remember, we're trying to get home to 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. We're going tier 3. We're almost there. We lose a crypt, we rebuild a crypt. We're losing so much here, but we're trying to get home to 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. It's not supposed to be easy. Crypt Lord has to TP back, but there's no Paladin there to nuke him. Again, judgment call. Do we have enough to defend? With a mana pot, we do. And we're going to barely hold on yet again. Rebuilding the crypts over here, because the crypts are dying over here. Tier 3 about to be done. Happy again goes across the map. Again, this play, just buying time. He killed 1 rifleman, lost more than that. He's just buying time because we're almost there, everybody. We're almost there. We're almost tier 3. And there we are. Frenzy immediately. Could never seen a faster frenzy in my life from Happy. And he's got 3 crypts, and Frenzy's almost done. We've almost made it. Starbuck kills the crypts, realizes he doesn't really have enough units to push into the towers, so he goes back to creeping. And we've probably won the game now. It was messy, but let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you an honest question. Did Happy die to a 7.5-minute rifle push? Did Happy die in 7 minutes to the rifle push like he did the last series they played, 4-0, with barely killing any unit? Did he lose like that? He didn't lose like that, did he? Again, I offer you no solutions here. This is still being worked out. I offer you only a way to make it out of the hard problem of Pally Rifles. And Happy has certainly managed to do that. And now his solution for this one, 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. This is the unsolved part. This is the part that Happy does not struggle to make it out of any longer. And some of the last laming we're going to do because Frenzy's underway. We have 3 Crypt production. Once we have 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls, we can actually, oh my god, we can actually win a fight, everybody. It's incredible. This is where Happy these days, and I say these days, this tournament was like 2 weeks ago. Happy played last night. And Happy added like a Death Knight and a Lich here with Orb. He would add a Slaughterhouse for a couple of statues. In these games, he's not going to do that. But Happy was doing that recently. Happy pulling some more ghouls from the main. He's been continuously producing ghouls non-stop this entire game. Let me go in. By the way, ghouls are 18 seconds to produce. So he can produce 3 ghouls every 18 seconds. So that's in about 1 minute. He can produce 9 ghouls. So we can go from 50 to 68 supply in 1 minute and 50 to above 80 supply in 2 minutes. That is how quickly with 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls we can go from this, what looks to be small army, to 80 supply Frenzy Ghouls, which Starbuck has no chance of defending. We TP back. This is all gravy from here on. The game is won for Happy. The game is won. The game is over. Look at how many ghouls he has. He could easily build another 18 ghouls. A couple things we might be worried about at this stage. Does Starbuck have an expansion? Do you think he has an expansion? Do you think he can go tier 3? Do you think his expansion? No. And Happy is going to win very, very shortly here. Because he's made it. 3 Crypt Frenzy Ghouls. It's all gravy. 2 functional mining bases, 3 Crypts, and Frenzy upgrade. And we're about to win the game. No, he never even needed to upgrade this. He would have. Sometimes, depending on the map, they'll attack our expo. Sometimes they'll attack our main. Both bases have 4 towers available to them. Happy, honestly, doesn't need to do any of this at this point. He could probably directly engage. Make the judgment call yourself. And Happy wins. There's replay number 1. Call it an imperfect game. Call it a game with mistakes. But Happy has done this every single time versus Paladin Rifles. Now, where you could argue there were errors from both players is simply the map movement. Where do they go? At what point? When do they choose to defend? When do they choose to attack? What you cannot argue from Happy's perspective is what the build order achieves and what the idea of the overall strategy is. Right? I offer you no free wins. You need to make the decisions of whether or not to defend, attack, where to move on the map yourself. But the general principle of this build order, what Happy builds in both bases, how he scouts, how he pulls his ghouls, that is what I offer you. Map number 2 is very, very quick. Again, there's going to be mistakes from both players. That's why this game is going to be very, very quickly. Very, very quick? Yeah, sure. That's why this game is going to be very, very quickly. Here's map number 2. And then we're going to move on to Orc. Same build order for Happy. Again, the same build order Happy has done for the last month against Paladin Rifle. Say it with me. Altar, Crypt, 1 Acolyte at the start of the game, then Ziggurat, then your 5th Acolyte. Happy is going to creep 1 creep camp with 2 ghouls initially, just to get some beetles and stuff, and then he's going to creep his expansion. Maybe there's some maps, I'm thinking of Tide Hunters, perhaps, Autumn Leaves, perhaps, where you can creep your expansion right away. In fact, in this very series, they played Autumn Leaves, and Happy crept his Expo as the first camp, the Cobalt Expo. Ghouls are going to come out. He's going to build a second Ziggurat. There it is. Standard build order, right? It's very standard. There's the Crypt Lord. Because at this point, we could still be up against Archmage. This is our build. The thing that would change once we're up against Archmage is probably the amount of defensive structures we build before teching. Against Archmage and Mountain King, we would probably tech a lot quicker with many less towers, but we're not getting into Archmage today, okay? That's too much. That is too much.
Summoning is complete.
Many ghouls. Again, 5 ghouls. He's not worried about building the Acolyte right away because he's not creeping the expansion instantly. If he was creeping the expansion instantly, he would build an Acolyte before his 5th ghoul. He's going to pull 2 ghouls. And then remember, every ghoul past this point is going to be rallied on the Crypt Lord. Where do you think this ghoul's going to go? I hope I remember this correct. Where do you think this ghoul's going to go? Straight to the Crypt Lord. Acolyte meeting up with the Crypt Lord in time to go to the expansion. Note he sold the TP and bought the 3 items we need to expand. And now, he's creeping this expo a little bit quicker than he did on Turtle Rock because it's a closer expansion. So he's going to build the Ziggurat first with the resources he has. And then at 25 supply, oh, there's 25 supply, he's going to save resources and build the gold mine. But notice, he does not currently have the resources to build it. This beetle, again, the scouts. This was the first beetle that he summoned. and he confirms that it's Pally Rifles. If he didn't see Starbuck here, he probably would have checked here, and then here, and then here, or maybe in some different order, but those are the camps he would check. But now he knows that it's Pally Rifle, so now Happy's brain goes, okay, this is what I need to counter. There's the gold mine. And Happy, will he this time build the ghoul before the acolyte? Yes. What I mentioned on Turtle Rock, he's doing it this time, right? And then he'll build acolytes. Perfect. This creep. Where is this creep? It's in direct line with the expansion. This would also be a valid creep, but this wouldn't give him level 3. And this wouldn't give him access to Staff of Teleportation, so Happy's solving 3 things at the same time. This camp is probably the safer one because you can pull it and creep it right here. This camp is a little out of the way. This camp's a little out of the way. And a lot of people were asking, what happens if the Pally Rifle player tries to cancel a gold mine? Well, we're going to see. Starbuck comes in. This first rifleman is a Happy rifleman. We don't take these, okay? We don't count these.
Our forces are under attack.
Goldmine is going to get canceled. The question is, what is it going to cost Starbuck? Well, it's certainly going to cost him the TP. I'd say at minimum it's going to cost him the TP. What does losing your TP mean? Well, you cannot go for a cancel again because you can't rebuy the TP. So you get 1 and 1 cancel only. Then you have no TP. Then you have to play defensive. Starbuck loses 2 riflemen and the TP. Absolutely worth it for Happy. I'll point out, though, this rifleman, many players are not going to get this kill. They might not even get this kill. What they will get for sure is the TP forced. Now this is going to change the order of things. Because Happy needs to mine more lumber to rebuild the gold mine. And Happy's just going to go back to his plan, right? He doesn't change anything. He still wants to get Staff of Teleportation. He still wants to creep level 3 Crypt Lord. And he's creeping level 3 Crypt Lord in a safe line for his expansion, but he knows Starbuck isn't going to go... Starbuck is not going to go for the gold mine cancel again. He's got no TP. He's absolutely not going to. Happy sending a beetle again to confirm this. I would expect him to be creeping this, and Happy does too, and that's exactly what he's creeping. It's pretty telegraphed creep route. This is just what Starbuck would creep next. Happy gets level 3. He's going to get the Staff of Teleportation. Rebuilds the gold mine when the lumber allows. He's got more ghouls on lumber than he did on Turtle Rock because there's been a lot more adversity this game, obviously. He got the gold mine canceled. He had to spend a lot of mana. And now we're just same plan. Nothing changes. Same plan. Go forward, make space for this. Builds the necropolis because he had surplus gold because he was waiting more so on lumber than gold to rebuild the gold mine. It all makes sense, right? This is 1 + 1 = 2. Can we win this fight? No. Can we keep him in his base? Yeah. We're just waiting for the gold mine to get up. Same game as last. Same exact plan from Happy. Nothing has changed from Happy. He's done everything the same. He's got ghouls. Gonna meet up with the Crypt Lord now because he's got enough lumber to build everything he needed. What does he need? Well, he needs these 2 ziggurats, which he's building early. Why is he building these before the gold mine when he built them after the gold mine before? Simply because the gold mine is later. And as mentioned in the first game, he does not want to get these canceled by a timing from Pally Rifle if we look at the clock. He wants these to be ready to go. Even if the graveyard isn't started yet, at least these towers are not going to be canceled. And then we can get the graveyard after and we can upgrade them. You could argue Cappy should have got the graveyard before these. This might be a mistake to not prioritize the graveyard more, but the general idea is still the same, right? Make a call. This could be a mistake from Happy. Make the call. Paladin comes back to defend. We've succeeded. Our expansion is safe. What's back at home? Oh, graveyard. We got our necropolis. We got our graveyard. We got our 3 ziggurats. What are we missing, everybody? A second crypt. And then some towers. And then we will tech. Spoiler alert, this game isn't going to go on much longer because they're not perfect games. People make mistakes. And Happy's going to win very quickly. But his plan has been the same the whole time. Just because he wins earlier, just because Turtle Rock was a huge struggle to get the W, nothing's changed. Base is blocked. He sensed that Starbuck was moving out across the map, which Starbuck was, and now he turns back. Happy staffs into the base. This could be suicidal, but he's got the greater mana. The towers are slowly being canceled. He doesn't know this is about to finish. He's hard committing in here. This is how Happy punishes the blocked base. Because if he can't get in without a staff, you can't get in without a staff either. Happy made a call that there was not enough defenses to deal with the Cripplord and the Ghouls if he staffed in with that greater mana that he had, and he made a judgment call that yes, I can go in there, and I will not just die. You might make the decision to do this, and you might just die because you read the situation incorrectly. Again, these are the difficult parts of playing this style. The easy part is knowing the build order, what to build, how to be safe against the pressure, generally what you want to get to in terms of units, and generally how you want to get there. These sort of plays are the difference between you and Happy. That he can make this call and be correct about it and literally win the game through making this call, right? Just like when he was defending his base on Turtle Rock and he made the call, I can staff back, use a mana pot, impale, and defend against the Blood Mage and those 6 riflemen. Starbuck, 4 towers here. And he has no way of mining because he blocked his base. So there are upsides and downsides to having a blocked base or an open base. We've seen both. And there are upsides and there are downsides to canceling the gold mine. We've seen both. And Happy wins. A perfect game? Absolutely not. The strategy is right there, though. That's Undead. Easy, clean. Evidence is all you need. Just go watch any Happy game. He's done that for a month. He does that every game. He does that every game. Call it bad if you want. Happy's the best player in the whole world. Don't care. Don't care. GG. Well played. All right. On to Orc. Oh. Now, Orc is a funny one. Orc is a very funny one. Why is Orc a funny one? Because we simply do not have replays of this level for Orc against Undead, or Orc against Pally Rifles. For Undead against Pally Rifles, we have the 2 best players in the world when it comes to this strategy. We have Happy versus Starbuck, right? That you couldn't ask for higher quality players to look at their games and go, oh, okay, I will divine information from them, right? When it comes to Orc versus Pally Rifles, we don't have that. We don't have that. Lin is getting owned. Focus is getting owned. Soen is getting owned. Starbuck is doing great. You're doing great, Starbuck. But they're all playing different styles. The last game I saw was like they're playing different stuff and it's not working, let's say. Okay, it's not working. They're only winning games because Fortitude is not at the same level as Starbuck when it comes to playing Pally Rifles, and he's being exploited. So with that being said, we don't have Lin versus Starbuck to analyze here. We don't have that. So the replays we're going to watch are not going to be perfect examples of what to do. They're simply going to be basic outlines of generally what to do, because we do not have perfect replays. And believe me when I say, guys, I went through every replay. I went through Lemus's whole profile, Toxy's whole profile. I went through Hitman's whole profile. I went through Tsog's whole profile, Starbuck's whole profile. I looked at every Lin replay, Focus, Soen, Fortitude, Sock, Infi. I did not find a perfect example of what I wanted to show. Right? So, the replays we have are just basic outlines. Or just basic outline. Right? Just want to point that out earlier rather than later. Because there's no perfect replay. I looked at everyone's profiles, every single replay. I watched replays for 8 hours yesterday. So we're just going to basically just throw it out the window and not worry too much about it. And we're just going to have more so replays as a backdrop for me to just talk about the strategy. And again, big shout out to Tsog for a huge write-up that helped me understand this a lot better. Okay, our first replay is going to be Starbuck versus Leon. Now, this might have been Leon's first game playing Pally Rifles ever. It might have been. He is not a Pally Rifle player. I think he was still learning the build order when this game happened. Don't care. All we're going to be watching this for is just generally what does Starbuck do? What units does Starbuck build? What heroes does he build? That's all I care about. That's all I care about. Right? Leon is simply going to be a punching bag in this game while we watch Starbuck, and we're just going to answer the questions of what units and what heroes and why. That's it. That's all we care about. We don't care about overanalyzing anything in this game whatsoever. That's it. That's it. Poor Leon. Poor Leon has to... Yeah, poor Leon. Yeah, we're very peripheral look at what Starbuck is doing. I don't care about the precision of anything at all.
Ready to work.
Here's Starbuck. A fantastic player with both orc and human. Okay, again, we don't know what strategy we're up against, especially seeing as though we're playing Leon. We would expect an Archmage. So what is a build order for Starbuck that can work against every single human strategy? What is an opener until we're able to scout that works against every strategy for human? Well, it's Farseer Headhunters. Many players play Blade Master against Pally Rifles, but again, can we reliably do that against Pally Rifles and Archmage and Mountain King and Fast Expansion and 2 Farm Tech? No, Blade Master's not going to work against all those strategies. So if you guys want a blind counter on ladder and tournaments, you can go for it. But what we're searching for is a consistent solution that works against the widest range of strategies, which is Farseer Headhunters. Now, again, not worried about the details. Starbuck's going to do an opener, and I'm going to show you a different one after this. I'm going to show you something totally different. So all we're worried about is, oh, he's going Farseer, and it looks like he's building Headhunters. What is he going to do with this Farseer? Well, just like against every other human strategy, he's going to go straight across the map, and then he's going to scout what his opponent is doing. And then we can start reacting to what Pally Rifles is, and we can start playing our game based on the information we have. Until then, we're in the dark. We don't know. This is the strategy against everything that we're currently playing for Starbuck. So, Farseer's going to come out. We're going to go across the map. We're going to build Headhunters. Very general peripheral look. Leon's going to get smacked down. He's going to get absolutely smacked down. We don't care, though. We don't care. Starbuck is going to do so many things incorrectly in this game as well, and I think even he would admit that. We don't care. We don't care. That's not what we're looking at this for. First Headhunter comes out, second Headhunter, and then we're going to tech. This third Headhunter is going to be canceled. Don't worry about it. And now we know it's Pally Rifles. There is something we could do, which I'm going to show you after this game, once we see that it's Pally Rifles. For right now, don't even think about it. Now begins the harassment. This is something that Undead is unable to do that Orc is able to do. What are we trying to do with this harass? There are, let's say, 3 things we're trying to do. The first is stopping the Paladin from creeping. There is a new build order that high-level Pally Rifle players are playing, which Leon is not playing here, where you get your hero out at the standard time, and then you're able to creep with 3 or 4 militia, 1 camp before the Farseer gets here. This is what many players like Toxy and Lemus are doing currently. Their Paladin is early, so they can actually get a creep camp. Leon is doing the old build order in which the Paladin is delayed so you don't get a creep camp right away. But worth noting, you're going to be playing against a lot more people that are going to have just finished a creep camp at this point. Our 3 goals: stop them from creeping, delay their tech as much as possible via forcing militia, and forcing holy lights. That's the 3 things we're doing with this. So generally with our Farseer and our Headhunters, we're just going to be attacking whatever we can. Right, while not taking damage on our Farseer and our Headhunter. This is already too much damage on our Farseer. And what are the Wolves going to be doing? Well, they can pressure out-of-position rifles, but importantly, they can also go in and harass peasants, which forces militia, and if they get low enough, it also forces holy lights. We can commit the Wolves in once we have cooldown. The Wolf cooldown is 30 seconds, Wolves last 60 seconds, so we can wait for them to be half duration, and then commit them in on a peasant, force a holy light, and resummon them. This works really well if you poke on one side with the Farseer and the Headhunters and send the Wolves into the other side. Notice he's doing that. He's doing all three things at once. He's not taking damage while attacking whatever he can with his ranged units. The Wolves go in and commit once he has the cooldown available, and they also commit in on the opposite side of his ranged army. This is generally how you can optimize your harassing. Kills a peasant. If that forced a holy light, that would have been acceptable too. Most importantly, Leon's not creeping. And he's forced into militia, which is going to delay upgrades, etc., etc., etc. If Leon wanted to go tier 3, it would delay that. Back at home, we're just building Headhunters. The number of Headhunters, we don't care about right now. All we care about is the fact that Starbuck is building Headhunters. Why? Because that's the standard opener against human that works against a wide range of strategies. And then by the time we know it's Pally Rifles, well, we're already committed to that build order. So we're continuing to build Headhunters, which in the future will become Berserkers. A lot of people ask the question of how long should I harass Paladin Rifles for? It seems like they get really strong around 4 riflemen. You're simply going to harass them until you reach tier 2. You're going to harass them the entire time. And I'll be honest with you guys, it should be pretty easy to stop them from creeping. It should be pretty easy. Oh, so the colors are reversed? Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't do the colors for the replays in the thing. It should be pretty easy to stop them entirely from creeping. I don't see how you should have any issue from stopping them at an even skill level. If I'm playing Fortitude, he's going to creep level 7 Paladin right in front of me without taking a single point of damage. Fine. Even skill level, there should be no issue with this amount of Headhunters stopping them from creeping. Also want to point out Starbuck got +1 on the way, which is a very standard thing to do. We're going to go into more detail on what this is in the future. If Orc lose Headhunter versus Pally Rifles in early game, he don't deserve to win a game. Exactly, Lemus. Exactly. So Starbuck should not be struggling. It doesn't look like he's struggling at all, but he shouldn't be. Okay, tier 2 is reached. Ignore this shop. We'll talk more about this shop in the future. Now, what is Starbuck going to do? What many players would do here, what we see Lynn do, is build a Tauren Chieftain. What is the advantage of a Tauren Chieftain? I'm going to get rid of these for right now, so they're not distracting. We're not going to put any notes on there, but I'm going to get rid of them. What's the advantage of a Tauren Chieftain? Well, Tauren Chieftain has Aura, which is really good. And he also has Shockwave, which is AoE. Now, against Pally Rifles, they have units that have really high armor, and they have really good single-point heal. What is just like basically the counter to that? It's AoE. We already have Chain Lightning. Shockwave would be really great against that. Right? So AoE damage would be fantastic. What is the disadvantage of a TC? It takes 55 seconds to come out of the altar. Right? So tier 2 just finished. In game, we're at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. The Tauren Chieftain will not be out until, what, 6:15 at this rate if we start it right now. If we go for a Tavern Hero, it'll be out way quicker, and we can start creeping it, and we can start getting it high level. What is a hero from the Tavern that comes out 55 seconds quicker that also does AoE? The Panda. Now, is Panda as good as TC? No, but it's 55 seconds faster. So what we're going to get is we're going to get a Panda from the Tavern because we get it quicker. Because remember, what's our first goal of the game? What's our first goal of the game? This. We don't care about this yet. We don't care about the late game, what they're scaling into. All we care about is not dying at 7 minutes, Orc players. That's all we care about. And what is a panda allowing us to do? Generally, Starbuck's not going to do that this game. Again, I don't care about what he's doing this game. I only care about what units and heroes he goes for. What a panda allows us to do is creep immediately at tier 2. Instead of building a TC, which takes 55 seconds, and then before the TC can ever reach level 3, the Paladin's already in your base killing you. Panda comes out, well, 520 in this case, and then we can creep it, and we can easily, I say easily, get it to level 3 before the Paladin and Blood Mage and Rifleman are pushing and trying to kill us, which is honestly what many, many Orc players are losing to. They're just dying to a push. Panda gives us the same benefits that a Tauren Chieftain does, but gives us those benefits quicker, and we can get him to higher level much easier because he's just faster. That's it. That's the only reason we go Panda and not TC. He's just faster. Now, Starbuck, in a perfect world, should start creeping right away. He's going to chase Leon around the map for about a minute and a half. Again, I don't care. I don't care. It's fine. Back at home, we're going to go tier 3 as soon as we can afford it. We could afford it if we didn't build this shop. Right? Noted. But we are going to be going tier 3 immediately. This whole time, the panda, in a perfect world, should be creeping. He's chasing Leon around the map. Don't care. Don't care. And we're going to go tier 3. What are we going tier 3 for? Well, we have all these berserkers, or we have all these headhunters. Wouldn't they be great if they were berserkers? Because that is probably the best unit we can build against riflemen. That, and what else can we build? Oh, Taurens. Because that is the best counter Orc has available to them against riflemen. So we got our panda, because it's a quicker version of the TC. We're going tier 3 so we can turn all of our headhunters into berserkers. We're also going to tier 3 so we can get Taurens. Starbuck in this game is going to build 2 Tauren totems. Again, we're going to talk more about that, but just all I want you to think about is, he's building Taurens. That's what he's going for. He's trying to get Taurens. And now he's creeping. He could have been creeping easily a minute ago. And his panda would have already probably been level 3. While the panda creeps, the Farseer tracks. Leon has still yet to creep anything.
We're under attack.
Again, 2 Tauren totems. We're going to talk about this, what this is good and what this is bad for in the future. Another thing Starbuck should be doing is prioritizing reinforced defenses, which he's not doing yet because he's got lumber issues, which we're going to talk about as well. General ideas here. What units is he building? Hazefire, I mean, should Starbuck be fighting here? Probably not. Should he be winning this fight when he is fighting? Probably not. We don't care. We don't care. Not worried about the count of headhunters, just the fact that we do have them. This is generally around the time when if it was a game where Leon was really well practiced with Pally Rifle, this is probably around when he'd be looking to push. But Starbuck is kind of just fighting him. Back at home, double Tauren totem. Don't worry too much about it just yet. We're about to hit tier 3. Notice our tier 3 timing, 8 minutes. So we're tier 3 about the same time that Pally Rifle wants to push us. And what do we get from tier 3? We get a 3rd hero. We have Taurens available to us. We have Berserkers available to us. In a perfect world, we have reinforced defenses also. And importantly, huge deal, we have Orb. But first, let's talk about what the 3rd hero could be. Now, generally, the 3rd hero that we want some sort of disable for this. For the Siphon, and for the Holy Light. It's great as well. Right? So what is the best thing to disable that? There's 3 options that we have. There's 3 options. We have, well, out of our altar, we have Shadowhunter, which goes Hex. That stops it, right? That's great. What's bad about Shadowhunter? Oh, it's 55 seconds later than a Tavern Hero. So from the Tavern, we have two options. We have Dark Ranger. Why is that bad? Well, the silence is really, really good. But it gets nuked by Banish Holy Light. So why would we want to do that to ourselves? There's a third option that doesn't have either of these issues, which is a Firelord which has Soulburn. Now, is Soulburn a better ability? Oh, yeah, Tinker as well. Sure. There's Tinker as well. Why not? Throw that in there. Now, is Shadowhunter better than Firelord? Yes. Hex is good because it's instant. And it also has a lower cooldown. Another advantage of Hex is also that it can stop Flame Strike, whereas Soulburn you need to time almost inhumanly to stop Flame Strike, but with Hex you can just do it on reaction because it's an instant cast thing. Soulburn has an animation, which is an idea for sure. Again, we don't have... who knows when Lin gets a hold of these ideas, what he'll do with them, right? When he stops playing tier 2 with towers in his base and going TC second, what he'll do. Maybe Shadowhunter's a good option. I've played a little bit, thought Firelord was better. Why is Firelord better? It's 55 seconds quicker. So Firelord is going to be our third hero option. Because we want to disable a CC, we want to silence, whatever, and Firelord is immediate. Berserkers, and notice Starbuck doesn't even have the lumber to build Taurens or get reinforced, and even if he wanted to build 2 Taurens, he doesn't have the supply to build 2 Taurens. These are all things that are mistakes. I don't even care though, right? All we care about is what heroes he went for. He's getting Berserkers, and in a perfect world, he would like Taurens, but this is not a perfect game. Not a perfect game at all. And now once these Berserkers pop... Note, Starbuck has his town portal. What he could do at this state, if he was worried about a push, which isn't always the reality, if he was worried about a push, he could sell this town portal to buy the orb. Because orb is the other part. Like the 3 heroes, the Berserkers are the most important, and then the orb is also very important. Why is the orb important? Because there's one serious thing we're lacking with this army and these heroes. Any sort of CC. Right, we have a silence, but we don't have any like ensnare. We don't have stomp. We don't have hex. Right, so orb actually allows us to lock down units and secure kills. So we're not just going to get 1 orb in a perfect world. We'll even get 2 in some cases, because that is our only way of actually locking down and securing unit kills. Orb also has the advantage of if the human goes polymorph. We're going to talk about human going tier 3 in the next game. You can actually attack your own polymorph unit and it will break it out of polymorph, which is, sometimes a counter to Taurens. So orb, very, very important. That's the next important thing after Berserkers, after the 3 heroes. Orb. For now, it's just Berserkers and the 3 heroes we see, which is generally mostly what our army is going to be. We'll get more into what Taurens are good at and why people build Taurens sometimes, but Taurens, you shouldn't think about Taurens as your most important thing. Really, the most important things you're seeing are right in front of us right now. Did you go Drunken Haze passive on Panda? Yes, he did. Generally, if you want to creep with your Panda, you'll go Drunken Haze right away, which allows you to creep easier because you take less damage. You also have +1 headhunters at that point, so you can creep up a Panda very safely, securely, and easily. Yes, Leon's still level 1. As I said, Leon is a punching bag. As a punching bag for us to watch what Starbuck's doing. That is all Leon is this game, unfortunately for him. We got 2 Taurens coming out. Notice we have to go 51 supply to build 2 Taurens. Don't care. It's fine. He's going to kill a peon. None of this is important. So Berserkers are done. We got Taurens. Starbuck's about to grab Orb. And he's finally going to get Panda level 3. There's one more thing I want to show in this replay before we move on. It's just a small point, but pretty much we're done with this replay's utility. Starbuck plays both Orc and Human. So he's got Orb, so this is mostly what I wanted to show you. There's one more thing towards the end of this game, so we'll let it play out. There's like another minute of this game. We'll let it play out. But we've gotten our peripheral look at generally the idea of what we want to do here. Yes, Starbuck doesn't like human mirror, so he plays orc against human, which means he has to play against the dreaded Pally Rifle. Alright, we're going to have one more fight left. There's a world in which I could just end this, but that's alright. That's alright. We're probably going to run on the short end of today anyway. What are we at now? Hour 20 minutes? Normally these things go 3 hours. I was trying to make it 2 hours. We're probably going to go a little bit over 2 hours, but okay, one final thing of usefulness, which is a very small thing. This is not a huge deal. I just want to point out another nice thing about the panda, which we're going to see in a second here. So the panda has two abilities that both contribute to AoE damage, Haze and Fire. So you use Haze and then you use Breath of Fire. It ignites the Breath of Fire and doubles the damage. That allows you to burn through your mana twice as quickly than, for instance, the Tauren Chieftain, who has one spell he uses, and then he has to wait for the cooldown and use it again, right? So that allows him to have more of his mana drained. Say if you're going TC, for instance, it allows you to have more of your mana drained, right? So Panda has the ability to burn through his mana a lot quicker than TC. An important point I want to make, the Haze duration is long enough such that you can ignite 2 Breaths of Fire with 1 Haze. Now, the second Breath of Fire is only ignited for a couple of seconds, but this means you can go Haze, Breath of Fire, and then the Panda is completely out of mana, and that's what Starbuck's about to do. So we went Haze, Fire, and then when this guy tries to Siphon, we can Soul Burn him. There it is. He Soul Burned the Farseer, don't know why, and here is the second Breath of Fire coming up. And he ignited this guy again. Notice, same Haze, ignited twice. And the Panda, essentially out of mana. So that means in one burst, we can burn through all of our Panda's mana for the most part. And then maybe we get Siphoned for 50 mana, and then we Soul Burn it, use a mana pot, burn through it right away again. This is the nice thing about Panda as opposed to TC as well. And this game's over. It's fine. Poor Leon. Just trying to learn Pally Rifles. And then we pull up his replay on stream. Paladin is level 2. Alright, it's about to end. It's about to end. It's almost over. Come on, Leon. Come on, Leon. There it is. Okay, there's replay number 1, done. Again, what were we looking at? We're just trying to explain what the heroes were for, what the general build order was for, what good harass looks like, and generally how you want to harass and use it. That's the only things we're looking at. The specifics were all over the place. So that's game number 1. Now, what if I told you there was a way to play the opening build order, which might be a little bit stronger against Pally Rifles? So typically against human, you might want to go for 2 headhunters and then a tech. But what some players are starting to do, and again, okay, I'm going to say this and I'm going to show you guys this. I'm not dying on the hill that this is good. I'm merely just showing you an option that might be good. Maybe. I'm not promising this is good. I'm just saying, here is this. Do what you will with it. Now, there are some players that are opting to go for 3 headhunters with +1 before teching, specifically against Pally Rifles. This is also an option against Archmage Fast Expansion on occasion. So you go for a delayed tech. Get an extra headhunter, and get +1. But you might be asking, oh, how do you do that if you're up against Archmage? Wouldn't you just be behind? I'm going to show you. So you can do both. So let's say, for example, you wanted to have +1 and 3 headhunters to more successfully harass Pally Rifles, which may or may not be good. but you wanted to have 2 headhunters and no +1 if you were up against Archmage. I'm going to do something I've never done in my life on this godforsaken YouTube series, whatever it is. I'm going to play for 3 minutes against a computer. And I'm just going to show you how this build order works out. Okay? Here. Okay. I'm just going to play a standard opener versus human. Okay? So, altar. First beyond a gold. I'm going to build my first burrow at 250 gold, which means it times out perfectly with when my altar finishes. It's a little bit earlier than this peon comes out. Most people build their first burrow with that peon. Not a big deal. These are small precisions that I don't care about. We're going to get 5 on gold, and then their next peon out is going to build our war mill. This is a standard Farseer Headhunter build order. If you don't already know this build order, what I'm about to show is probably too complicated. So if this build order is new to you, I would say ignore the next 5 minutes. We're going to build our war mill. Don't worry about my base build. I am a noob, okay? Do not copy my base build. I am a bad player, okay? Do not copy my base build. I got 5 on gold. I built my war mill. You can also let this peon mine a little bit before building it because my war mill is going to be done a little bit earlier than my barracks that is going to be built next. Here's my barracks. Farseer, because we're going Farseer, and we're going to build more peons. Okay, this is all standard so far. Because we don't know we're up against Paladin Rifles. Who knows what this normal computer is doing on the other side of the map, right? When I have 40 lumber, I'm going to build my next burrow, which will be in just a second here. Okay, next burrow coming up. Now, this is literally how I would build my base, but if you don't think this is good, that's fine, because I'm a noob. It does not matter. Build your base how you like it. You're probably better than me anyway. Okay, when this barracks finishes, I'm going to build 1 headhunter, and then I'll show you what I'll do next. So far, everything is very, very standard. Imagine the normal computer's actually going Paladin Rifles. It wouldn't surprise me. Okay, we're going to build 1 headhunter. We're moving across the map to harass. And then what are we going to do next? I'm going to get +1. And I'll tell you why. Waiting for lumber, waiting for lumber. +1. And notice, my second headhunter is about to... My first headhunter is about to finish. I need to queue up my second headhunter. I need 20 lumber. But I'm going to get 20 lumber before this headhunter finishes if I haven't messed something up. Now, I'm a bad player. I might have messed this up. But believe me, in practice, you can do this. You are better than me. You can do it. But I got +1 queued up. In order for this to be good, it cannot delay my second headhunter. I need to have 20 lumber before this headhunter finishes, or this build order is bad. Here's the moment of truth, everybody.
We need more lumber.
Come on.
We need
Yes.
more lumber. We need
There we
more
go.
gold.
Now, second headhunter on the way, +1 on the way. I'm going to queue up a third headhunter.
More gold.
And notice, I've scouted his base. This computer went for a Mountain King Footman build. Okay. So against this computer's Mountain King Footman build, it's not Paladin Rifles. I don't want +1 and I don't want a third headhunter. Well, that's fine. I've got +1 ready to go, but I have not delayed my second headhunter for it. So simply what I'm going to do, because I no longer want the +1 and the third headhunter to pressure Paladin Rifle because it's not Paladin Rifle, I'm going to cancel this headhunter, and I'm going to cancel +1, and then I'm going to tech. You can do this every time. There's my tech. But if I did want the +1 and the header, I just let it go through and I delay my tech. This could be the new standard build order if Orc players, better than myself, decide that this is a desired way to play against Paladin Rifles with +1 and with 3 headhunters. This is not something I see people do all the time yet, especially with getting the +1 before the first headhunter, or before the second headhunter. But this could be, I won't die on this hill, could be a good way to do the opening build order, if that is true. Make sense? I hope so. If you don't get +1 before the first headhunter, it's delayed by a little bit longer. You know, it delays your tech by quite a bit. So there's a chance that this is bad, having 3 headhunters and +1, but there's also a chance it's good, and I've been told it's good by players better than myself. So that's what I wanted to show you. So just think of that as the perfect way to open. All right. Now we're moving on to our 4th replay. Now you guys are going to love this one. You're going to love this one. I'm showing you a game between Toxy and Tsog where Toxy literally loses. It's going to be our next replay. Why am I showing you a game where he literally loses? Because I just generally want to show you just build orders and stuff. Again, I want to push you guys out the door, and you need to walk the path on your own, okay? Because Lynn and Focus and Soen are playing all different build orders and losing every game. I'm not going to hold you by the hand and walk you down the path. You need to find it on your own, okay? Let's talk about 3 build orders. This is where it gets juicy, everybody. So there's the opening. No matter what, that's the first 3 minutes of the game that we just did. Oh, let us move into this now. Okay, you guys ready? This is where it gets juicy. Wait, hold up a sec. Let me get rid of this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Okay. So I have 3 things in front of you. 13.6.2, 13.8.1, 12.9.1. Okay. So here's 3 variations of the build order that Starbuck just did relatively poorly and that Tsog's about to do. Now, 13 is the amount of peons that we have. 6 is the number of headhunters that we have. And 2 is the number of Taurens that we have. There's 3 build orders, 13.6.2, 13.8.1, 12.9.1. These 3 things accomplish 3 different goals. 13.6.2 is the best version of what we just saw Starbuck do. You do the standard opening build order that I've just shown. Before you get to tier 2, you build 6 headhunters. Once you reach tier 2, you build 1 extra peon, because that would give you 8 on lumber. You start with 7 with the standard build order. You build 1 extra peon, and then you get a panda and you tech to tier 3. And then on your way to tier 3, you build 2 Tauren totems, just like Starbuck did, only this time you have enough lumber to get berserkers and to get the Taurens and to get reinforced defenses because you have 1 extra lumber peon at tier 2. So you actually have the lumber to support all this, and you also have the amount of supply to support 2 Taurens before going to high upkeep, because if we add our heroes in, 13 plus 10, or plus 15 rather, is our heroes and our peons, 28, plus 12 from our headhunters is 40, plus 10 from the Taurens is 50. So we have this without going above upkeep, and then from there, you can go for walkers. From there, you can go for berserkers, more berserkers. You can go for only berserkers. From there, you can make your decision. What is this good against? This is good against what I would say lower level Pally Rifle players play. The best Pally Rifle players, this is not a good build versus them. This is not good. This is only good against people that go for tier 2 all-ins every game. Because what is this designed to be strong against? It's designed to be strong against specifically riflemen. Because you have 2 Tauren totems. What are Taurens really bad against? Well, once the human goes tier 3 and goes for griffins or goes from polymorph or gets high level banish, if the game goes late, Taurens are no longer good. They're only good in this situation because we're expecting the human player to do some sort of bad all-in. And I say bad in quotations because this is what every orc at the highest level is losing to still. But this build order is very, very good against that. But it's very unidimensional. It's super like, you're going to all in me because you don't know what you're doing, and I'm going to hold it because I have 2 Taurens by the time you push. And reinforced defense is ready to go. So that's what that's good against. I would not recommend this build order unless you're playing against Pally Rifle players that are going for tier 2 all-ins. They go for 6-7 Rifleman, Blood Mage, Paladin, and push you with like towers and a forward shop and stuff. That's what this build's going to be good versus. But many good Pally Rifle players, like Lemus and Toxy, are not. This build is not going to be good against them. Starbuck, this build is not going to be good against them. But many people you're playing against on ladder, it is going to be good against them because they're going for not the tier 3 things. Right? 13.8.1. If we add up the supply again, we have 28, our heroes and 13 peons. Then we have 8 is 16. That gets us to 44, and then a Tauren gets us to 49. So we have all this below 50 supply. What is this good against? I'd say this is the most well-rounded. We get 7 headhunters before we reach tier 2. That gets us to 31 out of 31 supply, right? Because we have a hero, 12 peons, and 7 headhunters. 17 plus 14, right? 31 supply. And then we get our panda. We get 1 extra lumber peon again. 1 extra lumber peon. And then we tech to tier 3. And then after we tech to tier 3, we get 1 more headhunter, rounding us off to 8. And we get 1 single Tauren totem to build 1 single Tauren at tier 3. The extra lumber goes towards reinforced defenses, and it can also go towards more upgrades for our headhunters, other than the +1 we've already gotten through the opening build order I just showed. This is the most well-balanced because you have the extra lumber to get upgrades for your berserkers, you have the lumber to get reinforced defenses, and you're not over-committing to Taurens, which is bad. I think 2 Tauren totems is bad, especially if the human goes tier 3. I would say this is a better option against tier 3 human, because we have the lumber for tech transitions. We have 1 Tauren totem in case we want to go for walkers, or if we want to go for extra Taurens, we at least have it. And we also have more berserkers, which are going to be our better, more well-rounded unit against the wider variety of units the human can do. So this is the fully committing to defending the tier 2 all-in. This is better against tier 3 human players. And then this is balanced between both. 12, 9, 1. What is this? Standard opening. You go for 7 headhunters again. At tier 2, instead of building the extra peon, you pick up a panda and you go instantly to tier 3. And then again, you get 1 Tauren totem. You build, instead of 1 extra headhunter, you build 2 extra headhunters, and that gets you to 12 plus 15 for our 3 heroes is 27. Plus 18 is 46, or is 44. 45, and then plus 1 Tauren is 50 supply, right? Whatever my math is, it's below 50 supply for all these things. Now, what is this good against? Well, you have a slightly earlier tech, because you don't build the extra peon, so your tech is 15 seconds quicker. You don't invest into 2 Tauren totems, so you have a little bit extra lumber to get reinforced defenses, and you also build extra berserkers. So this is more of a balance between the both. You're still going to be strong against tier 2 all-ins, but you're going to be less committed to Taurens and to all the into Taurens and all that, right? Because this is a later tech, so you're more susceptible to tier 2 all-ins because you have a later tech, less headhunters, and only 1 Tauren totem. This, you have a faster tech, more headhunters, but still only 1 Tauren totem. So this is the balance of both. This is best against tier 3, this is best against tier 2, and this is in between. What build order would I recommend? 13-8-1 I think is the best. This is the worst, this is the best, this is in the middle. This is what I played for a while until I talked to Tsog, and he's playing this. In a lot of cases. Many players, we just saw Starbuck play a variation of this, But yeah, this is what many people played for a long time. I don't think it's good. The double Tauren totem I don't think is good. And the 13th peon is also a new thing that people are doing. So what I would recommend, the best build order, in my opinion, would be to do the opening that I just saw with the +1 and the 3rd headhunter, and then go into the 13-8-1. So you go 7 headhunters with +1 until tier 2, get 1 extra peon, get a panda, tech to tier 3, build 1 more headhunter. Halfway through your tech, you build 1 single Tauren totem, also reinforced defenses, and then you get a Firelord 3rd, 1 Tauren at tier 3, and then from there you can react. Do you build more Taurens because they're staying on tier 2? Do you go for walkers if they're building knights and casters? Do you just build berserkers against griffins? Right, this gives you the widest range of variety. Oh, that's big now. So that's the 3 different variations. Make sense? With that being said, let's watch our last replay. So now I've shown you guys a different opening, 3 different variations of this opening. And then we have 1 more replay. Now, again, like I said, there's no replays of Lynn doing this, let me tell you. Maybe Lynn thinks this sucks. I don't know. All I know is Lynn keeps losing or playing bad builds. So we're going to watch Tsog versus Toxy. Tsog is literally going to lose this game. And we'll talk about why. Yes, 13 is 5 on gold, 8 on lumber. Correct. Yes. 13 on lumber would be a lot of lumber. Okay, here's replay 4. Our last replay, and then we're done. And then it's over. The pain is over, everybody. Okay? You can stop pulling your hair out. It's done, okay? You'll never hear me talk about this again. It's over. You guys can stop furiously typing your Reddit posts. It's done. It's done. Again, there's going to be lots of mistakes from both sides. I challenge you to find me a replay where there's not lots of mistakes from both sides currently. You can't. You can't. At this level of play, there is no replays where there's perfect play from both players. Okay, so TSCI going for Farseer Headhunters. He's up against Toxy, who is probably within the top 3 Pally Rifle players in the world, let's say. Between Lemus, Toxy, and Starbuck, they're the most well-educated. Oh, let me do this. They're the most well-educated and best Pally Rifle players. So he's one of them. The colors are reversed. The colors I did here were race colors, not for actual in-game colors, because red is orc and blue is human, in case you're wondering. Okay, Farseer Headhunters. Tsog is going to go for +1 and 3 Headhunters. He's not going to do it in the exact order that I just showed you, but as I just demonstrated, there is an optimal order, as opposed to what Tsog is going to do. And we're only going to watch this replay up till about the 13-14 minute mark, and then from there I leave you. I leave you on your own. Because I have no more to show you. And I need to be shown more from this point forward, okay? I need orc players to show me what to do from this point forward, okay? I've given you all I can. I've given you all I can. Now it's up to you to show the way. Farseer going across the map. We don't know what the opening is. Let's assume we're not against Toxy. We don't know what the opening is. TSCR going to build 2 Headhunters, which is standard. Could he have +1 already underway? Yes. Because notice, 120 lumber. Almost as that Headhunter comes out. He'd be a little bit late. And he's here. And then Harass starts. And again, all the same fundamentals I demonstrated earlier. We're trying to stop creeping, we're trying to delay tech, and we're trying to force Holy Lights. We're using the Wolves when they're about 50% duration. We're going to commit in and resummon them. Our range is trying to not take damage. And our Wolves are, generally going in on Peasants when we find an angle. We want to also attack from 2 different sides. Maybe Wolves on this side, our ranged on this side, etc., etc. 3 Headhunters and +1, and then the tech. Could you do this with just 2 Headhunters and no +1? You probably could. That's what Starbuck just did against Leon. You would still get the +1 at some point on your way to tier 2, though.
We're under attack.
Notice Wolves go in. Ranged is still poking. There's always going to be more precision in the defense and more precision in the attack. Both players could do this better, and both players could do this worse. Now, TSCog is going to build 7 Headhunters, which would suggest he's doing one of the single Tauren Totem builds, right? Because that's how the supply works out. But he actually builds 7 Headhunters, and he's going to build 2 Tauren Totems, but luckily he's going to lose one of those Headhunters, giving him the supply for 2 Tauren Totems. And I've already established, I don't think this build order is the best. I don't think it's particularly good. I think 2 Tauren Totems is bad. Unless you're getting tier 2 all-in. But Toxy is not a player, being very experienced, that plays tier 2 all-ins. He goes to tier 3. So TSCog is actually going to do a suboptimal build order, but it's still one of the options. Getting the 3rd burrow. We need the 3rd burrow, obviously, to have enough supply to get our panda right away. This is very important to not forget. Because if we forget this, then our panda's delayed, then we might as well have gone TC in the first place. This shop early delays our tech. So you could make an argument that this shop is not necessary until you're already teching to tier 3. Pretty much every game I watched, every replay I downloaded, the Orc players built their shop before they reached Tier 2, which delays the Tier 3 tech, you'll see in this game. The only reasons I can think for them building the shop this early is because they're either afraid of forgetting it or getting it canceled. Both things probably shouldn't happen. So just note, this shop timing could be optimized. This burrow timing is very, very necessary. Do not as I do, do as I say, you might say. In this situation. Harass continues. Again, do your best to micro. As the Orc player in this situation, you should be the favorite. With +1 headhunters. Again, he's building a 7th headhunter. This probably he shouldn't build. He probably shouldn't be building this or this right now. Do as I say, not as I do.
Work complete.
And the harass just continues. When are we harassing until? Literally until we hit Tier 2. Loses a headhunter, which is a blessing in disguise, because remember, he built one too many headhunters. Should you lose headhunters in this harass? No, this is overcommitting. But luckily, losing that headhunter is going to allow his supply to actually work out well. Does he go for troll regen? That's a very good question. Now, if you go for the 1291, because you don't have that extra lumber peon, you actually can't afford troll regen. But if you go for any of the 13 peon ones, or if you go for the 1381, you can 100% afford troll regen because you have extra lumber because you're not building 2 Tauren totems. Another big advantage of the 1381, which is the best build in my opinion. Tsog will go for troll regen this game, but it's not 100% an optimized game by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a lot of the general ideas are correct. Okay, Tier 2 is about to finish. He summons wolves, and he's going to go to the tavern to grab a panda and start creeping immediately at Tier 2. At least that's what he should do. Until then, he harasses.
Upgrade complete.
So he should already right now be at the tavern creeping the panda, but he is going to back away and do it. A little bit late, but he's going to do it. A perfect game would be the Farseer would be here. A set of wolves and all the headhunters would be waiting at the tavern when Tier 2 finishes, and the panda would immediately go here and have already crept this camp. That's a perfect game. Tsog builds an 8th peon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he techs to Tier 3. Now, the next things he should build, it should be immediate reinforced defenses. If he hadn't built his shop already, he should build his shop. If he was going to build more headhunters, 8 or 9, he would build the 8th and 9th headhunter at this point, and he would build one more burrow. If you want to go for double Tauren totem or single Tauren totem, you don't have to build it until halfway through the tech. Unless you want it to not be canceled, then you can build it earlier, but I leave that up to you to experiment with. But halfway through the tech is when you need to build the Tauren totem for it to be done on time for Tier 3. Tsog is not going to do this in the exact order, but that is the perfect order. There's the panda, and he's going to start creeping this panda to level 3. What I would recommend is whatever map you're playing on, know the fastest level 3 creep route you can for the panda. So whether that be 1, 2, 3, I don't know. But every map, you should have it worked out. What is the fastest level 3 creep route for my panda? That's something Tsog mentioned as well. Now, Tsog is going to go for the double Tauren totem.
We're under attack.
He's going to sell the teepee to get some items. He's going to get reinforced defenses. See, he should have already gotten reinforced defenses. He's going for double Tauren totem before doing that. But as soon as he can afford reinforced, he will be getting it. There's the burrow as well. He's getting everything before reinforced, which could be slightly optimized. But still, he's got everything he needs. The only thing he needs now is reinforced, which he should get ASAP. Because we're approaching the time in the game when Paladin Rifles might be deciding to push us. Toxy is going to be playing Tier 3. He's not going to be going for an all-in. Or, all-in in quotations. But if he does, or if we're playing against Fortitude, who would be going for that, we want to reinforce defenses ready to go. Panda keeps creeping to level 3. as efficiently as possible. Could the creep route be improved? Yes. But again, I leave this to you guys to make improvements. And look at the supply. What do we have supply for? A Fire Lord, put us to 40, and 2 Taurens, which will put us to 45 and 50. From that point on, what are we missing? Well, we have our Berserker count. We have all of our buildings at home. We have Panda level 3. We're going to get a Fire Lord. The last thing we'd be missing is an Orb. And if we urgently needed an Orb and we hadn't sold our TP already, we could sell our TP to be able to afford that Orb if, for instance, we were getting pushed by a tier 2 timing. Which a lot of you guys on ladder are probably going to get pushed like that. Because you're not going to be playing Toxy. Who, and by the way, Toxy is going tier 3. Because he's a very, very experienced player. A lot of you people are not going to be playing against this, though. You're going to be playing against people that are just going to blindly run at you with riflemen. Just like if you saw the Grubby vs. Noff show match yesterday, Grubby did every game and beat Noff. There's the Fire Lord. Double Tauren. He's a little bit low on lumber to be able to get Berserkers. Notice, if he hadn't have gone for a second Tauren totem, he'd be able to perfectly afford the Fire Lord, the first Tauren, Berserker upgrade, all at the same time, and he would have gold for the Orb. He would have everything he needs, which is why that one build order that only goes for 1 Tauren totem, 13 peons, and 8 Berserkers is way more better. Way more better. Way more better. Because you get everything you need. So we're seeing some inaccuracies from Tsog. We're seeing that the build order is maybe not the best build order. And what do you know? He loses this game. What a surprise. So we see where there could be improvements. Toxy pushing in. Could Tsog defend this? Quite easily. Quite easily. Look at this. Toxy, because he's gone to tier 3, he's under-leveled, he has a low rifle count. Even if he was level 3 Paladin and had 2 extra riflemen, could we defend this? Quite easily. If we TP'd into the strongest possible version of Toxy right now, we would destroy him. He's level 2 Paladin with 5 riflemen, even easier. But even in a different scenario, with 2 Taurens, level 3 Panda, Fire Lord, Farseer, 6 Berserkers, the fight would not be close. So again, let me tell you guys, have we solved this? Have we gotten... Wait. Have we gotten through past this point? Yes. Now the difficult part is this. Now the difficult part is this, which nobody has all the answers for. But I only promise to get you through this, which we have now successfully gotten through. Toxy would not win if Tsog in this game had decided to fight him. Congratulations, you've made it further in the game than Lin. Toxy's going to TP back. Tsog is going to use this timing to try to do as much damage as he can. And how is he going to follow this up? How is Tsog trying to win later in this game? Well, he's going to immediately pull a peon and expand. If he had a shop, he would Tiny Great Hall. If he had a shop and was in position, he would Tiny Great Hall at this stage. But since he doesn't, he knows he forced a TP. He knows he's stronger than Toxy right now. He's going to Tiny Great Hall. Or he's going to slow expand. He can't necessarily push into the back of the base right now, but he's just making space for his expansion, just like Happy had previously. Toxy cannot win the fight right now. What did Toxy go tier 3 for? Well, of course, Mountain King, Staff. He's getting Priests with Inner Fire. He's going to eventually get Griffins. He could have gotten Knights had his barracks not died. So what does him having Inner Fire Griffins mean? It means that our Taurens, especially both Tauren totems, are not going to be very valuable. What would be better? Well, lots of Berserkers, which is what we're going to see in the future. Expansion coming up. And from this point forward, we're just playing a game. We have survived potential timings. We have successfully probably secured this expansion. We have made it to tier 3. We are living past the 10-minute mark, and we're not playing hit and run for the next 40 minutes in order to win. We have successfully made it into the next phase of the game. which is still a difficult problem. I will say, it's still a difficult problem. But we'll see what Tsog does behind this. Now, he sees the Griffin Aviary, so he pretty much knows it's going to be casters and griffins at this point. And so Tsog is going back. He's going to get his orb. He's going to eventually get a second orb, because again, we have no CC, we have no lockdown, we don't have ensnare, we don't have hex, we don't have stomp. So we're going to get those things that we need. There's the orb. High priority on that before breaking upkeep. We got an expansion that would be a tiny great hall if it could be, but it couldn't previously.
We're under attack.
And now Tsog, knowing that it's griffins, is eventually going to place down a second barracks, and he's going to get 3-0 attack upgrades, and he's going to go for literally 80 supply berserkers. Now, you guys might have different ideas on what the optimal army is from this point forward. That is fine. You do you. If you want to try walkers, try walkers. If you want to try witch doctors, try witch doctors. If you want to go only berserkers, that's fine. You want to go mass windriders, that's fine. I leave it up to you to decide what the optimal army from this point forward is. The important part is that we've made it here. We've lived. We've made it here. Our expansion is safe. From this point on, whether or not you agree of what Tsog's army is not important, because this is where you guys need to solve some problems yourself. Maybe only berserkers is not the optimal solution. Maybe 2 Tauren totems, I would agree, is not the optimal way for Tsog to play this. Maybe no Taurens at all. Maybe he goes for walkers. Maybe he goes for witch doctors. Maybe he goes for shamans. Maybe he gets a Kodo. I don't have all the answers. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide. What I will say is that people have tried pretty much everything at this point. I've seen Starbuck play Kodos. We've seen people play Raiders. I've seen people try Shamans. I've seen people not play Taurens. Yes, also, maybe instead of the Firelord, Shadowhunter 3rd could be better to deal with Flamestrike. That is also another option. Maybe you're finding in your games you don't actually need the Firelord because you're not really dying when you go for Panda level 3. Right? So maybe you're able to, instead of desperately looking for the 3rd hero immediately at tier 3, maybe you're able to survive that 55 seconds and go for a Shadowhunter instead of a Firelord, which will allow you to have Hex, which is a better counter to Flamestrike, and Flamestrike is obviously the counter to Mass Headhunters. Again, these are things that I leave up to you. Tsog has decided to go for the Firelord. He's decided to go for a second barracks, and he's going to get 3-0 Berserkers. He is no longer going to build Taurens. He is only going to build Berserkers for the rest of this game, with 3-0 attack upgrades. Whether you agree, disagree, that's the reality of what he plays here. And for the next 20 minutes, they're going to desperately fight each other, and it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until all the bases run out of gold, and Toxy is able to barely scrape by with like 30 supply, and he's going to win the game. And with that, that's all I got. That's all I got. That's it. You want more stuff? Orc players play some more games. Orc players play some more games. Now, this is going to be very contentious. People are going to be hard disagreeing, but I present to you only what I have available to myself. Once we see Lynn actually beat Starbuck in a best of 5, then we'll have something. Dude, just call me next time. Lemus, just let me do my show, dude. Just let me do my show. Just let me do my show. Just let me do it. Let me do it. All right? You do your own show. Go ahead. Start your stream. Go ahead. Do your own show. That's it, guys. Appreciate you for watching. Good luck out there. I challenge you, both Undead and Orc players, to take what we've talked about here today and change it, alter it. What I've been doing over the last month against Pally Rifles, because I've been struggling against it myself, is I've been taking these basic premises and I've been altering things. I tried Shadowhunter instead of the Firelord third. I've tried playing no Taurens. I tried playing Shamans instead of Taurens. I tried playing a Kodo instead of Taurens. I've been slowly altering things and experimenting, which you should do as both an Orc player and an Undead player. That is how we find solutions for things. We don't stubbornly follow what other people do. We try to make solutions ourselves, make adjustments ourselves, and slowly but surely find adjustments. With that being said, I'm sure Pally Rifle players are also going to be making adjustments because they are the Pally Rifle University, and we must fight back against them. But this is the best we have currently. Thank you, everybody. Have a good, what day is it? Thursday? I'll probably be streaming on my channel later. You can watch me lose to Pally Rifles and struggle. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Goodbye.